I'm minimalist, but I like nice things.
We've built up such powerful myths around the darkness, but dark it just means that which has no light shining on it.
So with ChatGPT, you can filter it through the ChatGPT and it'll tell you. That's one way. Or you can really dig deep and think.
Whoa. I didn't even finish the question.
Yep,
You were like,
I knew it.
do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Nice guys finish last.
True.
Okay. In my hand is a deck of cards. On each card is a single question. In just a moment, my guest and I are going to create a conversation that revolves around one of the cards from this deck. And right now, neither of us knows what that card is because it's going to be determined by a game of chance. This is part interview, part improvisation. It's an exercise in what I call conversational jazz. This is TK Coleman, and you're watching One Question. Janel, thanks for coming on my show.
A pleasure, an honor to be in your presence. So this is exciting for me.
The feelings are mutual. So I have this deck, and this deck has 50 cards. And it was very important to me that I had a variety of question types represented in the deck. So I have 5 little subdecks. What I'm going to have you do is pick up each deck one by one and just, shuffle it for very briefly, and then draw a card, leaving it face down. And I'll talk you through each subdeck as you're doing that.
Ooh, so I get to shuffle,
you
not
get
you.
to shuffle, yeah.
Okay. How to be human.
How to be human. So those are all questions about relationships, dealing with other people, and I'll kind of get to know aspects of your philosophy of relationships if we draw one of those. And that deck is Quirks and Oddities, and that's dealing with personal favorites, idiosyncrasies, eccentricities, things that make you uniquely you.
Okay.
And this next deck here is Big Ideas. That just helps me know a little bit about your worldview. And then this next one here is What Would You Do? These are hypotheticals. I'm gonna paint a picture for you, and you'll tell me what you would choose based on the conditions I lay out.
Okay.
And then lastly is Agree or Disagree. Ooh. This deck consists of essentially cliches, maxims, common folk wisdom. And if we draw one of those, I'll read it and you tell me if you agree or disagree.
Okay.
All right. So I mentioned that we'll have one central question, and we are one step closer to determining what that question is. We're going to remove all of these cards. We have now gone from 50 cards to 5 cards with a representative randomly selected from each question category. One of these cards will be our central card for the conversation. But before we determine that one, let's do a little rapid fire icebreaker exercise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over each card individually, and I'm going to ask you the question on the card, and you'll give me the first answer that comes to your mind. No nuance, no explanation, no justification.
Okay, so just the answer.
Yeah, just the answer.
Quick.
Yeah, quick.
Okay.
Like 7 seconds, 5 seconds.
Boy. Okay.
All right, first thing comes to your mind. Here we go. How to be human. How do you comfort someone who is depressed when nothing you say seems to help?
You just act.
If your personality had a warning label, what would it say?
Beware.
What do you think money reveals about a person that nothing else can?
Ethics.
All right, you are czar for a day, and you're getting ready to pick the next world holiday that everyone will celebrate every year in the exact way you prescribe. You have 3 options: Truth Day, Kindness Day, or Quiet Day.
Quiet.
Whoa. I didn't even finish the question.
Yep,
You were like,
I knew it.
quiet. Okay. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Nice guys finish last.
True.
Okay. All right, we've got some really intriguing answers to explore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle up this little deck. Now, because this is color-coded, you can look at what I'm doing here and know exactly what you're picking. So I'm going to shuffle up. I'm going to have you look at me, and I'm going to hold these out, and you're just going to pick one of these cards. And, okay. It's your hypothetical: truth, kind, or quiet. You answer that one so quickly. Would you like to hear the full question?
Yes.
Okay. So the way the holiday works is everyone for 24 hours in the world would have to follow the rule. So Truth Day, everyone speaks the truth, no matter how they feel, how scared they are. You ask them a question, they got to answer it honestly. Kindness is everyone is kind to one another for 24 hours straight, no matter what their temptations are. And Quiet Day is everyone is silent. No one talks. You chose quiet. So this is going to be our central card. So our conversation is going to revolve around this, and everything we talk about will connect to your answer or the things that you say around it. And these other cards from our rapid fire exercise, I'm going to place them around that central card, one to the left, one to the right, one above it, one below it, and we'll call these the connection cards. And these peripheral cards will kind of give us an opportunity to mix it up a little bit in the conversation, add a little variety. So we'll take breaks from our central card and talk a little bit about these. And my goal here will be to connect what you say about the connection cards to something that we've discussed with the central card. And the goal here is to sort of illustrate the idea that conversation is really about connection. It's about, discovering something new about the person that you're talking to, and listening actively, giving yourself a little challenge. I'm going to learn something about you that I didn't know, and I'm going to try to make a connection between the things that you say, because if I have a goal like that, it helps me listen a little better and gives me a purpose other than just nodding my head. So
I love it.
Before we begin, you have any questions for me?
No.
All right. Let's talk about World Quiet Day. Why'd you choose that?
Because we don't know how to do it anymore. We've lost a sense of disconnection from the outside noise. And so we don't know how to sit with ourselves. And, Blaise Pascal, French mathematician, right? Philosopher, he said, struggle is the ability to sit with himself in solitude. And solitude and quiet go hand in hand. And we can't do that today because we're always on. And we are so deeply connected to our devices that we don't know how to disconnect anymore. Or we distract. So that's the other thing. You don't know how to sit in solitude anymore, in boredom. Because what would you do, right? You'd have to sit with some big thoughts that are roaming around in your head. And many people do not want to face those thoughts. So they continue distracting. They continue to stay deeply connected to other sources versus themselves. So that's why I'm a proponent of sitting in quiet.
Now, some would say the reason that we don't do that is because we're just inundated with things that demand our attention. But your insight here seems to be subtler. You're saying, we have the opportunity if we want it, but we're running from it. And
Absolutely.
Is that right? Now,
we are.
Yeah.
We are. I mean, there's so many ways to connect to yourself. For example, being in nature, right? Why don't more of us choose to do that, right? Why don't more of us choose to, sit on a mat and just, like lay down and relax, right? Without anything entertaining us. Why can't we sit in the car without the radio on? These are all things that we have to ask ourselves. And I think it's that ultimately we're afraid of ourselves and what we have to face in the quiet. So it's better to turn on the music. It's better to turn on the podcast. It's better to talk to somebody, because then you can avoid being uncomfortable, right? Because nobody wants to sit with their discomfort, because you'd have to face some demons, and people don't want to face those things. So 24 hours of quiet, wow, you'd really have to think and examine some parts of your life that you've been avoiding. So for me, it's more about like avoidance. We are inundated, but you can carve out moments and time to form that disconnection. It's just we don't want to do it. So I'd rather soothe and get lost in something else versus getting lost in my own thoughts. in the quiet.
Have you always thought this way?
Probably as a child. I was always deeply connected to myself, and I loved my solitude.
Yeah.
I embraced it as a child. I have children. I have a 15-year-old high schooler. I have a 10-year-old. They also enjoy their solitude. I mean, they're not in quiet all the time, but I think as a child, I loved being alone, and I still do. I enjoy that very much. But it's hard for me, right? It's hard for me too, to sit with what's coming up for me because it's scary and I don't want to face those things. But I find a lot of insight, if I can work through the discomfort, if I can write it out, in stream of consciousness, if I can talk to myself, if I can pray, I think all of that helps me get closer to some answers that I'm seeking.
I relate to that. There's hardly a problem I can have that isn't consoled or cured by just taking a walk. And yet that's the most difficult thing for me to do. I have unflinching confidence that if I can go for a 30-minute walk, no matter what my issue is, I'm going to finish that walk with some valuable perspective. And yet it's so difficult to do.
It's difficult. Yeah.
If you were like this since you were young, at what point did it become difficult for you?
I think as we get older, we are subscribing to everything that society wants from us. And we're taught to follow the leader, or we're taught to fall in line.
Yeah.
And you're just going with whatever the majority wants. And that in turn made me a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I started to ignore things that were, natural for me because I wanted to be accepted.
Yeah.
I wanted to gain social acceptance and I wanted to fit in. And so I just kind of went along with whatever my parents wanted for me, whatever the school wanted for me, whatever. And you go through the motions of life and you don't really take the time to pause and say, wait, is this what I want for my life? Or is this what everybody else wants?
Yeah.
So I ask my kids the same questions because there's so much depth to each of us that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
But we can only find those answers in the stillness, in the quiet. That's where those answers are. And people think that you have to talk to somebody about it all the time, or you have to listen to this podcast, or no, you have the answers. This is so much about what I do on my platform on the Rising. You have all the answers. You have the inner guide. You have the inner power. You have the intuitive abilities. It's just that you're not tapping into it. You're tapping into every other power source out there versus the one that matters the most and is going to give you all the peace, right, that you're so seeking. Because I think ultimately at the end of the day, we all want more peace. Who doesn't want to live in more harmony? But you have to connect to yourself, and you can only do that in quiet.
Yeah.
So.
Connection over information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you connect? Like, do you have like a go-to ritual or a practice that you employ that allows you to connect in this world of distraction?
I connect to God. And the way I find God is in nature. So I go outside, I go on a walking meditation.
Yeah.
I go to the beach, I ground myself in sand, I ground myself in dirt, I ground myself in, grass. I find any way to sit in nature and observe the elements. And that's typically where I find a lot of solace, Anne Frank talked about that, in her attic. Nature provided comfort in my pain. And she would have a window she would look out, right? But just that little window that gave her perspective on the world and what was out there. And she was in observation, gave her comfort in such a stressful, time in her life. So it's like, I go back to that. And Walt Whitman, he's, nature poet. He sat in nature for hours, just observing the birds, the trees, the natural elements. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is look, and you can sit on a chaise lounge if you want to. You don't have to ground your feet in dirt. You can be just observing nature. And that's one way to connect to yourself, to God, to everyone. I mean, that's how I find my quiet and my, and it's easy and it's free. And people think it's like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. But I get it, right? Our schedules pull us away from moments to connect to nature,
Yeah.
and like, I don't camp. People are like, you're in nature all the time, but I'm like, I don't camp. I have it's not that you have to camp. It's just that you have to find like an hour, even if it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, and like take the drive to the beach, sit and watch the sunrise.
Yeah.
And then get back in your car, go home, right? Make breakfast for everybody. But you have to be able to take that time. And I tell people, I have an early risers club. I say, you have to join the early risers club. You got to wake up at 5 a.m. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day because those 2 hours are sacred to me to connect to myself. Before the kids wake up, before my husband wakes up and everyone demands something of me, like I can be with myself with those 2 hours and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that's what I want everyone to do because it is so life-changing. If you can do that. So
You create the space to get to your mind before anyone else can get to your mind.
100%.
You say, Janelle, this is what I need from you.
Ding, ding,
before
ding.
anybody else can say, this is what I need from you.
Absolutely.
What I like about your perspective too is that it encourages the making of small steps. I think about something that Kobe Bryant said, and it was a Mamba mentality, where he would put on his headphones sometimes, and people would think he was listening to music, but that was his way of walking through a gym or through a locker room and blocking out the world, because no one would say anything to him because they're like, oh, he's listening to his music, but he wasn't playing anything. He needed that silence to be able to prep his mind for the game.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can find those little things we can do, like get in the car and you're driving to work, like, all right, maybe for just like 10 minutes of my ride, I won't listen to anything.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what that does for me,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I walk around with my headphones all the time. Similar, because I don't want to be bothered. And that sounds terrible, but sometimes I'm grocery shopping and I won't have anything on, but it's just that I'm observing what's going on at the market. I'm observing people, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I am listening to a podcast the majority of the time or music, but sometimes I just want to signal, oh, okay, like I'm in my zone. And that's something that is not so friendly all the time because people may want to approach me or talk to me but it's a way that I protect almost my silence. I'm at this moment where I want to be in observation and I want to be with my thoughts. So my headphones are on. So I totally relate to that.
Yeah. I've got a litany of questions for you about this quiet, but let's take a look at one of our connection cards. When I read this nice guys finish last, you objected to that so strongly.
Yeah.
You felt passionate about that.
It's true. I think if you've ever read any of Robert Greene's books, especially The Law of Seduction, it's human nature. We want what we can't have, and we want what's dressed up as an illusion. That's so much of what draws people, right, to each other. Sometimes it's like this fantasy, and it's not always nice. So sometimes it is that rebellious nature of somebody that kind of pulls us in and draws us to them. And that's just human nature, right? We want to test limits. This is all part of how we're, how we develop, and like we've evolved so much in society, but humans stay the same. We still want what we can't have. I mean, that's never going to change, I think. I don't know what you feel about that, but I feel that there's innate human primal behaviors that we have that will never change. No matter how much we evolve as a species, no matter how much we evolve as a society, no matter how much history changes, people want what's essentially bad for them. They're curious. They want to explore that. Then you get burned, right?
Yeah.
You get, right? Touch the stove, get burned. I'm not going to do it again, right? But all of us go down that, as you say, sometimes a rabbit hole of curiosity. Yeah. We need to find out, right? We need to find out what's bad to then appreciate what is good, right? Yeah. So that's just, the laws of nature, I believe.
So if someone's thinking to themselves, well, if nice guys finish last, I'm going to try to finish first by being mean. And we know that doesn't work because that's a formula,
No.
right? There's something that you're not getting if you try to use meanness as a strategy to finish first. So what is the thing that the people who don't finish last get? What is it that they get?
See, and I interpret this a little bit differently. I feel like the nice guy will win in the end. Like, I feel like if you're really seen for who you really are, and you are a good human being, and like, you know, you have good morals, I feel like you will get that person. You know, it's just going to be a matter of time. And, you know, that person will have to go through the weeds, the bad, right? First.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you get the gold,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
That's the beauty of it. So I feel like in a way it's okay because like the guy will in the end triumph is what I feel, you know, inherently, that last is not necessarily a bad thing. It's that you'll probably be appreciated more and valued for that versus being taken for granted from the get-go.
Yeah. There's a meme, or I won't even call it a meme, but it's going around quite a bit now where people are making the distinction between being nice and being kind. Now, I know for a lot of people the terms are interchangeable, but people are saying, well, to be nice is sort of to be agreeable, to be pleasant, whereas to be kind is to cultivate the virtue whereby you do what is right, even if it results in you being seen as very firm, very assertive. You accept that distinction?
I do. I think that kindness has a little bit of an edge to it. And you have a little bit more regard for yourself and more boundaries. Like, I can be kind, but I'm not going to let you walk all over me.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the distinction comes in. It's like, nice, let's just be nice and, you know, appease everybody. But where does that get you if you're just going to be a doormat, right? But you can be kind. I don't know. There's something that kindness has that there's some legs to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to stand here in my kindness, but I'm also not going to let you walk all over me, which the niceness feels like, you know, I'm just going to take it and let you just run all over me.
Yeah.
That's how I view it in a way.
In some ways, it seems like kindness is niceness with sincerity. I'm gonna be pleasant when I'm pleasant, and I'm also gonna be truthful. And sometimes being truthful might require me to look or sound as if I'm not very entertaining or not very pleasant.
Right.
Sometimes it might not make everyone comfortable, but I'll respectfully still be that.
Yeah, I always tell people on my platform, be spiritual but not stupid. Like, you know, I don't want you to feel like just because you're a spiritual person, you have to take it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, even some monks would tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have to have like dignity.
Yeah.
You know, and I think kindness, it, for me, feels that way. You know, versus just like, you know, Mr. Nice, Mrs. Nice, let's just play nice and make everybody comfortable and make ourselves uncomfortable in the process.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about that.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I can be kind, but I can respect myself and what I'm willing to tolerate. And I'm not willing to tolerate everything.
Yeah.
So that's where that lies.
When we talked about quiet and you talked about the power of solitude, you mentioned that you've kind of always understood that intuitively as a child. Do you feel the same way about, you know, what you said about like kindness? Have you always saw it that way? Or was there a time in your life where maybe you didn't set boundaries, you didn't respect yourself, you didn't know how to be firm?
I think that was my entire life until I hit midlife, which is now.
What was your entire life?
Well, I think my entire life, growing up in, you know, a big family and like being in these school communities, in private school, it was just like, you just go with it. Go with whatever, you know, everyone wants of you and expects of you.
Yeah.
And you don't question that. So, and you have to like perform.
And so what changed that?
Yeah. I think definitely getting married. My husband is like really firm on like who he is. He's always known like deeply like who he was. And I don't know if it's easier for men, but like he kind of had this air about him, like, I don't really care what anybody thinks about me, about what I do, how I live my life. We're going to get married and we're going to live our life, right? How we see fit. Yeah. So like once I got married, I was like, oh, like, wow. I felt very protected because I felt so in the wild. Like I had to subscribe to whatever everybody was telling me and like go along with it. And he was like, no, you don't. No. Here we do things differently. Yeah. And so that was really good for me. And then I had children, and then I built my own life, and then I built my own wealth and my own, career. And I started to stand more firm and like, this is who I am. So you can't, now at this point, you really can't sway me. I pretty much am so deeply connected to myself and making my decisions 100% based on what's best for me and my family. I don't get swayed. Yeah. And I'm in LA and I go to so many events and it's funny. And like, we were at the Oscars for something and, I don't care. It like nothing that anybody does or says like sways me anymore. It's like, that's cute, but like I still live my life a certain way. People have asked like, oh, aren't you into this style? And I'm like, I'm not really following fashion. Like I kind of dress however I feel like I want to dress or what speaks to me. So I'm not easily swayed anymore like I was before. Yeah. So I kind of bought into what everybody was drinking and I drink it too. Yeah. But I'm so far, but I think midlife gives you that gift is like when you go through marriage, having children, changing careers, and then you're like 45 like I am, and you're like, well, like, how do I want to live the next half of my life? So yeah, that's where I'm at.
So now you're making me wonder as you talk about this firmness that you acquired, inspired by your husband, which by the way, what I love about that story is in connection with the whole nice guys finish last thing. If your husband chose to be pretentiously agreeable in the name of not making anyone comfortable, you wouldn't have been inspired to step into who you truly are.
Right.
And so it's a great lesson there on how exercising courage empowers other people to exercise courage.
Yeah. But he is nice. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's nice, but he's got an edge to him.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like what we're talking about nice, right? Nice versus kind. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think everybody has that other side of them. They're just afraid to tap into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was nice, but he also was like, listen, this is who I am and I stand in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Personality warning label. Beware. Where'd that come from?
It's funny. I'm a complicated human being. I'm extremely complex. And I had a friend of mine in high school say, I can't figure you out. And like, he was one of my best guy friends and we saw each other like years ago and he was like, you're so elusive. He's like, I just can't, we can't figure you out. And it's true. I'm very complicated. I'm a deep thinker. I like nature, but I like nice things, right? I like nice things. I'm minimalist, hence like why I love the minimalist. But then it's like, there's so many facets to me and I find it overwhelming and complicated to be my friend, to be my husband will say this, to be my, like, who are you today? Are you sure? Like, you said you were like minimalist yesterday, but today you bought a bunch of stuff. Like, I think it's this, we live in this like duality, right? Like we're just like, lately I've been embracing my dark side, hence the black, because I was like, for the rising, my spiritual platform, I was wearing sage green and soothing colors. But then I just launched a skincare line for women that's a little bit more elevated, edgy, and my other side is coming out. So we live with this duality. Carl Jung talks about this, the shadow, the dark side. Like I'm kind of embracing all facets of my life. And I kind of like it. Yeah. At 45, I'm embracing my little bit dark side here. And then I'm still spiritual. I'm still connected to God. But it's becoming a whole person and being okay with that in whatever it looks like. And I think so many of us are afraid. We feel like we have to choose one path or another, or we can't rectify all the parts of us. We're like, wait, can I like pizza, but then like this? Like, healthy thing, or do I have to be super fit and healthy, or can I, I think we're all living on extremes, like in order to give us some sense of like groundedness and identity. And we are so complex.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, beware, because I'm very complex but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And, I've had to come to a place in my life where I don't apologize for it anymore. Like I am 100% okay with it. I dance in my kitchen every morning at 5 a.m. with coffee. I sometimes post on my stories, the song of the day. It might be a 90s rap song. And I go, gosh, what are they going to think about that? And I go, oh, I don't care. So it's kind of like, I'm just all over the place. And then another day I'm studying ancient mythology, and people are like, I'm wearing my glasses, and they're like, wait a minute, like, who are you? Like, we don't know who you are. Yeah. And it's true. I don't even know some days who I am, but I follow, as you say, my curiosity. I let it take me where it needs to go. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with exploring. I'm not done. Like, we're just like hitting the iceberg right now. Like, I'm not done. I have so much, hopefully, life to live, and then I can discover more parts of myself. So that's why I say beware. It's gonna get interesting.
I don't need to be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's true.
I'm hearing that as I don't need to be easy to define.
Right.
In order to be present to the possibilities of myself.
Right.
I see this powerful connection with the quiet and the things you had to say about solitude, because you talked about the dark side, embracing the dark side. And we've built up such powerful myths around the darkness, right? Horror movies. The dark side is the monster in you. But dark just means that which has no light shining on it, that which is unknown or cannot be seen, because we don't have the light of awareness on it. And I think about Stephen King was once asked, like, hey, you're writing all these horror movies and all these things about, creepy things. Are you ever afraid that you're going to become that? And he says, no, it's the opposite. Because I have an outlet for looking at these things continuously, holding them up to the light of awareness. I never have to worry about being taken captive by it. And so for you, that solitude that you talk about, where you can go within and you can look at the things that scare us, not because they're creepy and monstrous, but just because they're in the dark and they're unfamiliar. But by looking at those things, holding them up to the light of awareness, you're able to find that strength to embrace them and then go back out into the world and say, beware.
Exactly.
I'm here.
100%. 100%.
I love that. I love that. I wanted to hear a little more about how do you comfort someone who is depressed when nothing you say seems to help? I believe you said, just act.
Correct. So I've learned a lot in grief because I lost my dad to cancer, and I lost my father-in-law recently to cancer as well, and other loved ones. My feeling around grief and comfort is that you don't ask a person, what do you need? You just do it. Because that person will never want to tell you what they really need, right? They're in so much deep grief. And I've talked to so many grief experts and so many people that are in it. And all that you need to do to comfort someone is just do the thing. So like, go to Trader Joe's, pack up a bag and of stuff they might need for the week that you think, drop it off on their doorstep. That's it. Like, don't like feel like you have to say something, because they've heard it all. They've already heard, I'm so sorry for your loss. Do you think anybody wants to hear that again? He'll always be with you. I had to come up with creative things to say, because I was so tired of hearing the same thing when my dad died. So I say different things now, and I give different cards, and I do different acts of, service. So I just feel like you have to act. Don't wait for the person who's grieving or in pain to tell you what they need, because they never will really tell you what they need, because they're too deep in their grief and they don't want to bother anybody. So all you have to do is pray for them, keep an eye out for them, and just act. Send flowers, send the groceries, send a gift card. That's all you have to do. And I wish people would really understand that. Like, they don't want a long text message from you, and they don't want a phone call. Because when I'm in my deep grief or I've been in pain, the last thing I want is another phone call and a text telling me the same sentence over and over and over again. It's lovely, that's great, but I'm saying if you really want to comfort, like really comfort somebody, you have to do it by an action. And don't wait. You just do it. If you feel called that day, like, I'm gonna go to Trader Joe's. I'm gonna like fill up the bag and give them the gift card and like just drop off some basic groceries they might need for the week. That's it. And just leave. You know, leave it on the doorstep. Bye-bye. You don't even need to know that I did it. That's the beauty of it. Oh gosh, someone just showed up with this.
Yeah.
That's gonna make someone's day.
And I imagine for the person that might be thinking, but I gotta say something. I gotta say, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. Even if that is true, if you combine it with an action, that action makes your words so much more palatable. If I bring you that gift and say, hey, I'm sorry for your loss, I'm still speaking through my action, not instead of it.
Right, or people need to get creative. The thing is, we've lost critical thinking skills. So with ChatGPT, you can filter it through the ChatGPT and it'll tell you, right? A thoughtful response. That's one way. Or you can really dig deep and think. Now that other people's dads have passed away, mine's been 5 years, I'm far removed from it. What would I say now, right? Like, what do I tell my friend who just lost their dad?
Yeah.
So I gotta think, right? Janel, it cannot be a generic response. So get creative. So I started telling people, I said, he'll always be your dad. And they were like, what? Like, nobody has said that to me. And I said, yeah. I go, he's on the other side, but he'll always be your dad. Okay. But it stuck with them. And it was like, okay, like no one's ever curated a thoughtful response like that, you know, but it's true. You have to think, and that's just one example, but you have to get creative here and stop giving people generic answers when they go through death, loss, pain. You got to get creative here.
Yeah.
And that's where we lack these skills. A lot of us don't want to like dig deep and go, gosh, what could I say? What could I say? But sit with it and see what comes to mind. It might be something really, really heartfelt. And that's what I do. Anytime someone dies, I sit with that and then I go, gosh, what do I want to say? And it's not that it's like this, you know, dramatic thing. It's just that like, I might say, oh, I'm so sorry, but, you know, here, like this is where I'm taking it. And I typically, I just get so tired of the same general taglines for things that I'm like, we need to get creative here and really think about a thoughtful response. But we don't want to do that. We want to be reactive. We want to be like, oh yeah, okay, because I'm moving on with my life. Yes, I understand. But that person also merits a thoughtful response.
In the same way that we run from the silence because the shadow self is scary, we also run from opportunities to be creative because creativity is scary. Generalities are safe. Everyone else does it, right? And so there's a particular kind of fear I love to hear your wisdom weigh in on. For the person that says something like, well, I love to just make a choice and do something to show my love, but you know, I don't know if they're gluten-free. I don't know if they can have fruit. I don't know if they even eat cookies. And you know how it is in the world today.
Yeah, for sure.
You could be so wrong so easily. How do you act with confidence in the midst of a fear that you might be wrong and buy cookies for someone who doesn't eat cookies or fruit for someone that's on a no-sugar diet? You know what I'm saying?
I think we're overthinking it. I think that person is going to appreciate the gesture. I think we get stuck on the details. So they don't care what's in that bag. All they care about was that that bag showed up on their doorstep at 5 o'clock when they had nothing in the fridge, right? That's all they care about. They don't really care what brand, if it's gluten-free, if it's this, if it's like a specific, they just care about the gesture. They're like, gosh, that person took the time, money out of their way to just drop this off at my house at this particular moment in time. I think we overthink it. That's the bottom line. People appreciate the gesture. It's always about the gesture, the effort, because that's so not typical these days for people to go out of their way. Everyone is inundated with their own lives and their own busy. So if you take the time out to do something for someone else that's out of your way, that already is an automatic, like, wow, like I'm so grateful.
Mhm. I want to thank you for exercising the courage and discipline to steal away into those spaces of silence and solitude and looking at your grief and extracting so much wisdom. Because I listen to your podcast and you always do speak from the heart.
Thank you.
Every lesson that you share is an
Thank
extension
you.
of something that you've wrestled with, and I can always hear that. Like you've looked at your shadows, you've grappled about for truth in the darkness of your own soul, in the silence, and it shows. It shines.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. And I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You're a light in this world. And I'm so grateful our paths have, aligned and we connected. So thank you.
Likewise. If you had the chance to do this all over again, is there any question you'd answer differently?
No.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Ask me 5 years from now
Okay.
when you invite me back and we talk about this again.
Let's do that.